My real concern is, if we implement something like this, we get this in people's minds, a lot of our citizens are going to become anal retentive. Here we are, it's Monday, and it's Talking Racine. We have George Myers to my left,
Good
your
morning.
right.
Good morning.
Mr. Jim Spodek to my right, your left. And your hair looks good, by the way. I know
Does it good?
Yeah, you were
Good,
concerned about that. I never worry about mine. I don't have that much to worry about. I'm Dr. Jorgen, your host. We got a couple of issues that we're going to discuss with you this morning, or for you. We're going to talk about Machinery Row. How did that get in there?
It never stops.
Yeah. Machinery Row and the lawsuit that's been reinitiated, refiled. And then there's something going on with Real Racine, which I'm sure you all want to hear about. And then there's the green tier. Is that an initiative or a project or a mandate?
Policy.
What the devil is it?
I came today to find out from you guys what it is.
Oh, okay.
I
So
don't
if
think
you,
anybody knows.
so if you guys don't know what green tier is, you're in good company. And then we're going to mention the recycling program that went on just Saturday, which was a tremendous success in some respects and an abysmal failure in others. So we've got a clip there, haven't we?
Right.
That talks about Machinery Row and the refiling of the
right.
lawsuit.
It's Patrick Fagan, who was a tenant at Machinery Row, refiled after apparently there were no summonses filed with the original complaint back in December.
Well, there was an allegation that there was no summonses filed, and the court said, well, okay, it seems like you've complained enough that it could be true, so we're going to just go ahead and throw it out and you can start over.
Right, start over. And that's what he did. He started over, and it came through again, and it was a little blurb in the paper on it, and that's fine. I mean, we're following it, and we'll see where it goes. But there was a comment made by Scott Letney, the attorney, city attorney, who, I'm going to put it on the screen here so you can take a quick look at it.
Well, I was relieved to find out that the city has learned its lesson and is now handling all of these relocation expenses as the law has mandated they should. They're in compliance with relevant law. Unlike what they did with Machinery Row. I mean,
Right. Poor Machinery Row. Now it's Water Street. Was it Water Street Development?
Yeah.
So here's the
Where
plan
is with Water Street Development anyway?
It's amazing because I am confident that all processing of relocation benefits related to the Water Street Development site has been in compliance with the relevant law. Scott Letney, Racine City Attorney.
Now, do you think he's really going to get away with
Wait a minute, for you out there that don't know what we're talking about, the Water Street Development is Machinery Row.
You think by him putting a new name on it, it starts all over again, and it's in compliance?
Gee, he said it's been handled correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, again, it's a play on words. It's a way to bring the public into, they must be doing the right thing. I don't believe they've ever done
and he's
the right
a lawyer. He wouldn't lie.
No. How could that possibly be?
Lawyers never. You can't even put those two words together, lawyers and liars.
If you say it right, they sound the same.
Yeah.
He's a liar.
Yeah, you have to be real careful with that.
Anyway, but I thought that was kind of funny, to read that.
Well, we'll keep tabs on that for you.
Yeah.
And feel free to explore that on your own. It's very interesting. Then we move on to Real Racine.
What's Real Racine now? What do they do?
I don't know. Is there another kind of Racine?
Fake Racine?
No, they are the tourism arm of Racine County, and they collect taxes, room tax, and then they utilize that for promoting the events in the city of Racine. Which Racine has, a number of different events, the beach, the downtown. There are some things, amenities in the city of Racine that they promote.
Well, who collects the tax?
Yeah, the point is they're not self-supporting.
No,
they get their money from.
I believe
various
it's
municipality
Mount Pleasant,
sources.
City of Racine, maybe Caledonia, Waterford, Burlington, I don't know. But the county kind of puts it into Real Racine. If you remember right, it used to be that
it's mostly a room tax, right?
It's a room tax, basically.
But they are basically a private organization too. They are not considered government employees, right?
I don't
think on Racine payroll.
No.
They have their own EIN, probably employment identification number, and they work on that basis.
Right.
That's what I pick up.
Right. So they are promoting these different events. Now, Mount Pleasant now has decided that they're going to go on their own, and that was about a $700,000 hit to Real Racine, which is a big chunk of their proceeds.
Yeah, that's close to, what, 80% of their total budget
No,
or
it's
something?
quite. They said around 50%, but that depends on. But you take 50% on anybody's budget, I mean, you got a
That's a
major
kick.
problem.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Now, why? Why would Mount Pleasant leave?
Well, I think they probably looked and said, you know, the original agreement was Racine was saying, look, we've got all these wonderful things going on in Racine, and it's drawing people into the area. You guys have got the hotel rooms. You're benefiting from this. So we want to put a room tax on, and we want the room tax because we're the guys that are the big draw.
Right.
And these wonderful things that are the big draw.
Well, there's the triathlon and lighthouse running, the volleyball tournament, the dragon boat races. I mean, just
Okay.
on and on and on. There was just a whole lot of things there was a whole rostrum of things, and not to mention festivals and so on and so forth, which used to take place down by the lakefront.
Right.
Salmonorama is one of the few that still takes place down there, but they've shifted from the festival site over to
Pershing Park
Pershing
area.
Park because they
And-
can't
and-
afford to pay for the
Right. And we just
festival
had a
grounds.
recent festival that was at Pershing Park also. They also did not play in Festival Park, now Rotary Park, or whatever they call it now.
Yeah, Rock the Harbor, which
Rock
used to
the
be
Harbor,
Harbor
yeah,
Fest.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but Mount Pleasant made the decision to pull out. So I'm assuming that they are going to start their own tourism arm of Mount Pleasant.
Well, I can't say that I disagree with them because
can't either.
all of these things that were allegedly drawing people into the area, causing them to rent rooms in Mount Pleasant or Sturtevant or Caledonia or wherever, a lot of them have disappeared. I mean, the triathlon left because there was damage to the bicycle tires.
Right.
The roads are so bad.
Roads were bad. There was a motorcycle, Hot Week or not Hot, but they came in too, and they said we're never coming back because the roads are so bad. A lot of low riders that felt it was dangerous. We lost a dragon boat. We've lost, I think the volleyball's gone. I mean, we really have lost a lot. We don't have
Yeah.
the influx of events. And so I'm sure Mount Pleasant sat back and looked at it and said,
You guys aren't the driver anymore.
yeah, you're not the driver.
Mhm.
And if you remember right, back, I would say probably in the 2000, the Visitor Convention Bureau was downtown Racine. And the argument was that, it's all downtown and we need to be out by the interstate. So they moved that to the interstate. And that was a driver from the municipalities that said, hey, we want to participate in this. We want people to, and it made sense to be out by the interstate, pick up information about the community, and you would go west to Burlington and Waterford, and now, I mean, and again, with Mount Pleasant moving out, it's not unusual because Pleasant Prairie moved out of Kenosha's, so it is a little bit, and that maybe was the idea that said, hey, if Pleasant Prairie can do it, why can't we? And these are communities on the grow. Agree with Foxconn or not, it's growing because of Foxconn, and there's going to be some added amenities probably. So, but again, we go back to Racine. Fix the damn roads. Really. I mean, Triathlon said, and he come up and say it. It was the roads that affected why we're not coming back. Ironman, and the cycles, motorcycles. I mean, it's
Well,
just,
I think
roads
the
and-
problem you get in there is with money, though.
yeah.
It costs money to fix the roads. And they sure do. I don't know, I've been trying to get across Douglas Avenue now for
I know.
most of the year. And
There's
I don't know
nothing
why
on the
it
other
takes so
side.
long. Yeah,
St. Gillenburg Road.
I tell you.
I'm sorry. I apologize for speaking ill of my city.
But really, you have to look at the base. We go back to this constantly. You have to look at what needs to be done. Is go back to 101. Let's fix the roads. Let's fix the alleys. Let's really inject into the community. This $65 million project here, the arena over here.
Yeah.
That does nothing for. Oh, this is going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. No. What people talk about, and we're going to bring a clip up, is the roads, the alleys, the general health and welfare of a community.
Well, not to mention our tax rate. We're double Mount Pleasant and Caledonia's tax rates.
Right.
I guess
Triple
we're triple
Sturtevant.
Sturtevant.
Yeah.
I mean, why would a business want to come in here
Right.
and pay, twice as much in property taxes as they could in Caledonia or Mount Pleasant?
I mean, this is not brain surgery here.
No.
You
Well,
you figure it out pretty fast.
We'll start a tax incremental district for them.
There you go. Marvelous. And it's like why should we have a double tax rate? I mean, I don't understand that either. I mean, there's got to be an awful lot of waste going on over there at the City Hall.
It is, George.
Claiming that
you know,
need,
we go through this every week on the show, and I keep looking at these numbers, and I just it's amazing how much money they've gone through and actually just squandered. And I mean, I use the word squandered because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, just last week we talked about the addition of a second communications assistant or coordinator
right,
or whatever.
Right. I mean, this is, you know, to perpetuate. And I really believe that a lot of this is how do I benefit myself in the city of Racine, in their administration, and in the elected officials. There's a lot of that goes on. You know, I want to be somebody in there, and it's not about the community and the constituents and the services to the community.
I really don't think that's the case at all. Where the city is supposedly working for the community. I see a very antagonistic relationship between people in the city and the taxpayers, people within the government.
I agree. I agree with you.
You know,
I don't think you guys are arguing, really.
No, we're not. That's what I mean.
Right.
I don't mean I disagree with you. I mean, I don't see where there is this co-relationship between the city hall and the constituency. Not within the bureaucracy, at any rate. A few of the aldermen might, but even then, as we're going to see, you question that.
Well, and their power is consistently being eroded.
Plus that,
Yeah.
that's right. So they're managing it that way too.
Yeah.
It's not like
They're allowing it to happen.
they're allowing it to happen. That's right. So it's like yeah. I think there's some very fundamental problems to what's going on in the city that we need to get straightened out.
Yeah.
Okay, and that leads us to the green tier.
Right.
And we're not talking about crying. We're not talking about tears of
Yes, the green tier.
sadness.
What that is?
Tier is like, you know.
Well, that was brought up in
like
front of the
levels.
Common Council, and they voted it in. And this was, you know, and I just looked into it a little bit, and we brought some information up. There is a state statute on the green tier, so it's not just this policy that we're going to bring into the city and hope, and it's environmentally. And I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of the stuff in it.
Right.
Yeah, that was very amazing when you showed that.
But it's a state statute. It's not as
This is in
easily-
the state statute. This is not just a general agreement
No.
like the Paris Accord.
Right.
You know, there's nothing in the Paris Accord that's in the state statutes that I know of. You know,
Right.
but
But
green
this is.
tier it is. You know, and some of the things they're trying to push through is.
Now this green tier slipped right through, no problem, go right at it. I do have some clips from the Paris Accord that they did have a little discussion on, and I'm going to play that, and we can stop and discuss it as we go.
Yeah,
But
good.
Oh, wait a minute. This is beautiful language here. It's the Wisconsin Legacy Community Strategy Options. The purpose of the Strategy Options Matrix. Strategy Options Matrix. That's poetry, man. That is just unbelievable the way the language that they use for this stuff. I'm totally impressed. Beautiful. Anyway, go ahead. And
all right,
play
I'm
the
going to
clip.
play a clip. This was a discussion on the Paris Accord, but it does relate itself basically to this green tier, which then just, you know, the Paris Accord and then the green tier with the Wisconsin statute just slipped in right after it. So I'll play that and we'll go from there.
Trying to reduce our carbon footprint, am I right? Right. So does that include like demolishing Machinery Row? Shouldn't we look into fixing that, what we have, and moving forward with that? I mean, I'm just saying, that's something that we all should think about. If we're going into this Paris Accord thing, we should all be in it. I mean, not just halfway.
I have to comment on that. I mean, I like Steve, and he comes up and says things when a lot of other people don't say anything. But Steve, get a little more assertive. I mean, you're being so. Gee, I don't
mean to interrupt.
Don't want to offend anybody, but maybe we ought to talk about this. Don't be so meek, man. You got some good points.
You got good points.
And-
Get them out there because you lead. You actually have some good thought process. You just need to get it out there. There's $65 million a project that ended up going to cost us
Another
$20 million.
$6.5 million.
Oh, to knock it down, and you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. But lay it out there, and there's plenty to do in the city of Racine, and it needs leadership. So anyway.
But anyway, back to the green tier.
I have the same issue with the lack of a fiscal note attached to this resolution. B, make use of the annual budget capital budget, ordinances, other means to achieve carbon consumption reductions to the 1990 levels. That could be a huge financial impact. And I think when we vote in supporting this resolution, we have to know that there should be some kind of a fiscal note attached to it.
And I think this is real critical. Too often you hear these ideas about protecting the ecology, protecting the environment in its own little isolated situation.
Right.
You know, instead of looking at what are the economic impacts to it, because you can do more damage to a community or to a society or to people's health by just destroying the economy. I mean, for instance, we all know automobiles are a big problem. Kill a lot of people. They pollute the environment with their exhaust on it. But nobody talks about getting rid of automobiles,
Right.
because they know if we got rid of all
Some people
automobiles,
do, but they tend to not be listened to.
yeah, I mean, it would destroy the economy.
Right.
We'd be back to the horse and carriage era. See, so we have to take into consideration these economic things. All right, so that's just an example of what I'm talking about. Anytime you go in with these type of things, like we're going to handle something with regards to municipal ordinance requiring manufacturers take back a fluorescent bulb. All right, fine, fine. But what is the economic impact? And I think anything that you do in the environment should also take into consideration what is the economic impact, because the economic impact can be of a greater problem. If you put everybody into poverty, I tell you what, that's the biggest
Yeah.
killer of all, is poverty, more than car accidents, airplane accidents, smoke, cholesterol, whatever you want to say.
Right. No, I agree. I mean,
It is the biggest killer, is poverty.
It has to have this balance, and I think that's what this green tier is supposedly sold as. It has this balance between industry and environmentalist and legislation. So they're trying to work it together. I give them credit for that.
Well, I don't like the idea that we're signing on to a commitment to all of this stuff here, because there's some things in here, I don't know who wrote this stuff.
Yeah, you're talking
But the-
green tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the Wisconsin Legacy Communities
Yeah.
Strategy Options, and it's based on green tier, and it's in compliance with it. And ban idling more than 5 minutes with local government vehicles. Okay. Ban idling more than 5 minutes community-wide. Now, what if you're 80 years old and you get stopped by a coal train and it's 80 degrees outside?
Or
And-
0
and-
degrees.
Or 0 degrees, and if you turn your vehicle off, you don't have air conditioning and you don't have heat, depending on what season it is. Are you going to get a ticket?
And the coal train's going by.
And
up
the
to the
coal
power
train
plant.
is going by up to the power plant, which is creating far more pollution than your car is. You know, I mean, so some of this stuff just isn't well thought out. I mean, it's. I like a lot of this, but I think that probably the very least they should do is like say, well, if we're 75% compliant, we're doing good.
Or we work in that direction, and I think that's
Yeah,
it.
we
I mean,
commit to working in
We
that
just
direction.
talked about these events not happening in Racine because the roads are so poorly. How much did you lose when you talk economics? How much was lost in tourism dollars because they're not coming back? So fix the roads.
All right, here's another one that somebody brought to my attention yesterday. Plan for replacing all toilets using 1.6 gallons per flush and annual progress sufficient to reach 90% replacement in 10 years. So in 10 years, they want to replace 90% of the toilets in town? Providing education
Look at
to
that.
all and financial assistance to households with low socioeconomic status. Now, we just went through a rate increase because we weren't using enough water, and the water department said, we're not making enough money to keep this operation going. Now they're going to mandate that we use less water by getting 90% of the toilets
So the water
replaced.
bill's going to go up even more now. I mean,
Well,
right.
plus, water is not an issue in this community. I'm sorry. I mean, it just isn't. So that's one thing you could just strike out. My real concern is, if we implement something like this, we get this in people's minds, a lot of our citizens are going to become anal retentive. That's not good.
All right, I'm
Good.
moving on.
This council really is about what's nuts and bolts. People don't talk to me about air quality. They talk about the crumbling streets. They don't talk about a concern about what the 1990 levels were for carbon consumption. They talk about the services that they lose every year, and that's what's going to happen when we shift our priorities to providing services to the people that pay the taxes, to trying to achieve something that was handed to us, whatever these 1990 levels are for carbon reduction.
I think that's a real important concept to look at. What is this government all about? Is this government about appeasing somebody that wants to take care of the environment, or is it about the people that are paying for it?
What makes you think the people don't want the environment to be?
Well, that's fine. If
Yeah.
the people want that, that's
Right.
fine. And it's,
But I know what you're saying. I mean, we have to,
what she just said there was
Yeah.
she's gotten a lot more complaints about the condition of the roads than these other things, than the air quality.
And you know darn well, George, that is a complaint within all over the community. You know, it's the roads, it's the condition, it's the housing conditions. I mean, they're watching their community, deteriorate.
I'm with you guys. Roads before toilets. Totally.
Well, at least let's take into consideration the economic impact. Let's take into consideration what people now. I want now. Here's the thing: people may have some misconceptions about certain things. They may not realize the dangers of these toilets that use 2.5 gallons of flush as opposed to 1.5 gallons of flush. All right, fine. So let's educate them, and I'll bet you if you educated people and said, "Here's what it's costing you. Here's what diarrhea really costs you," and then they might say, "Okay, I'll get a new toilet." But they can make that decision on their own to say, "I'm going to save me a whole bunch of money by buying a $100 toilet down at Douglas Hardware."
Well, listen, I don't see any provision in here that allows a composting toilet. Now, you know what composting toilets are, right? They require no water.
No, that would
I don't know if I want it in the house, but
Well, no, I mean,
you're
they're perfectly functional. They're not in any way dangerous. They don't create any kind of smell or anything.
Do you do it inside?
Absolutely.
Oh, it's
yeah.
not an outhouse.
No,
That's
no,
not
it's not.
That's not
No,
your composting.
Well, I'm sure you could do it in an house, but I mean,
Oh my God!
that's something that genuinely should be considered.
I totally agree, Doc.
Well, the point is that people are subject to education. You know, when you teach people something, they do tend to respond to that, and we don't do it in the community this way. It's all do this or bang bang bang, fine,
Right.
go to jail, do this. You know, it's lose your house. It's all these penalties. It's ruled by violence rather than
Right,
ruled by
right. It's
ruled by
violence,
reason.
yeah.
Right, exactly. We've
Now, it's one thing to say, I value human rights. It's another thing to say, slavery's bad, but the costs associated with abolishing it would be really hard to absorb.
Hold on a second. Whoa. It's not like we're going to throw out human rights because of the economy. We're just saying take it into consideration. That's all Sandy was talking about. We're going to keep slavery because it's economically viable. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's utterly ridiculous.
So we want to be very careful when we say something's good, but the cost thereof. If we really care about something, then we put our money where our mouth is.
And then that's true. That's true. Yeah, if you really care about it. But that can be done through education. It does not have to be done through violence. You don't have to fine people and take away their house and put them in jail because they don't do the right thing.
Right.
If it's really the right thing, a little education goes a long, long way.
Well, what you're saying is you want your caring to be based on knowledge rather than emotion, is what you're saying.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'll go along with that. But and just saying, the emotion will come about with the knowledge. Then they'll say, yeah, okay, that's a good idea. Let's
And in truth, what he
whatever.
was doing there was he was playing on people's emotions.
yeah.
Absolutely.
He
Kind of
didn't
a cheap
he didn't
political
play the
trick.
race card or the Nazi card. He played the slave card. Got all these cards.
Yeah,
you
they
know,
all
like-
come out of the same deck.
I don't think we can pass this resolution without knowing what the costs are going to be to the taxpayers, because this is not our money we're talking about. This is the taxpayers' money that we spend come budget time.
Well, she got a point there. That's
Yep.
exactly
Well, that's
what
the
it
whole
is.
thing. That's the whole thing.
comes down to
And
taxpayers'
if you're going to
money.
wreck the budget, and we're going to have lousy roads and all this type of stuff, so that we can get back to the 1990s carbon, whatever that
Footprint,
was. I mean,
Well, here's the other
Well-
thing, though. When we got into the tier, the green tier, one of the parts of that was for, and we talk about eminent domain, was the taking of private property through the redevelopment authority, and they actually, use that, extend that out to that redevelopment authority to come in and take a piece of property that they feel wetland. We talked about it before, like a wetland or something they feel is environmentally
Yeah,
significant.
what you're concerned with is they would expand the eminent domain jurisdiction to include environmental.
Now, another question,
concerns.
is that in the statutes
That's
that
a
way,
slip-
Jim?
that
Not
is
in
a
the,
slippery
it's in the
slope.
redevelopment statute, but the green tier relates to the redevelopment
Green Teal is
statute.
grabbing onto it itself.
Yeah, and it says use your redevelopment authority. Now here, this is an important point because what's happened is we move away from our elected officials into the redevelopment authority. So now we sign on to this green tier, we move away to the move away from our elected officials, and now unelected officials are now moving in not only to developing and using tax dollars. Now they're working into an environmental area where they are unelected and they're
Unaccountable.
Yeah, that's
Unaccountable.
really dangerous. You know, the public's
this is-
only connection to this bureaucracy, only attempt to control it is through their aldermen. Because
Exactly.
aldermen face them in elections, you know. But
Right.
you put it in an unelected bureaucracy, and you get into this very antagonistic relationship. And if I can relate it to the police department, you know, the police department we all accept is an antagonistic relation with people that commit crime.
Right.
They don't work with them and say, look, come on, fella, you just stole from the store. We need to show you it's a better way to do things. And there's no education going on with
No.
police. It's all violent. Boom, boom, boom. Well, unfortunately, that's the way it is right on down through the whole bureaucracy. It's getting to everybody's treating it like they're policemen instead of working with people. They're
To create a
saying,
better world.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Well, we're going to use violence.
One of the
and we're
things
gonna-
that
we're
was
gonna force you
interesting to
do
me
this,
was
what do you-
because I go through these videos, you know, and I'm watching them, and Alderman Tate, and I think a week or two after this part, they agreed to this green tier, but I don't know, maybe the week earlier he talks about, well, I'm not going to sign on for eminent domain in Mount Pleasant because I feel it's wrong. Well, you just signed on the green tier, which was exactly what that eminent domain was. So I mean, you know, you can't have it all. Here's the thing. The Common Council has to sit back, say, wait a second, let's read this, let's understand what we're getting ourselves into.
Let's make certain we're doing something rational on behalf of the tax-paying citizens.
Exactly, and that does not happen.
Yeah, this-
and that's
this
my
is-
biggest fault with the Common Council.
This is a lot of pages in the state statutes.
It's a big
There's a lot of
state
pages
statute, yeah.
in some of their plans and stuff, and none of that's been read or studied by any of the aldermen. Maybe
No,
Sandy
they-
Widener did.
Well,
I'm
they got
sure
it
he
at the
spoke out
last
of it.
minute. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, they get this dumped on them, and then it's like,
Well, it's
we're gonna-
environmental, so we have to do it. You know,
Right, it sure sounds
wait
good,
a second. Wait a
and
second.
you know, it's only a policy. Well, when you look at it a little deeper, it's not just policy; it goes into a statute.
Well,
so,
speaking of the environment, you know, it's not a good idea to throw an old television set in the garbage. So the city took it upon itself to create a day, which was this past Saturday, when they would collect at no charge all of these old televisions, the old console type television, you know, the big box ones. Everybody's got flat screen now. You probably have a couple sitting around in your house. It was a nice idea. And you guys both saw the traffic jam that I saw, I'm
tell
sure.
you. If you weren't out there, folks, I don't know if you know where Pearl Street is.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but there's a line about goes about what 50 yards, I'd say, from Pearl Street up to the entry to the dump. Then you go back a block over to Racine Street. Then you come down 2 blocks to get to 6th Street, and then you go back another couple blocks to get to on 6th Street to get to Memorial Drive. That line was about 3 car lengths from Memorial Drive. When I went by at 9 o'clock in the morning, I thought I'd check again later in the afternoon, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on my way out of town. And by darn, it was down, still on the 6th Street.
Well,
There were
and
a couple
wasn't-
cars on 6th Street.
That wasn't the only location that was jammed up. I mean, there was traffic on Memorial Drive from 10th to 9th, and then from 9th to Pearl.
I mean, it was just
bumper to bumper traffic. It was-
unbelievable.
yeah,
But here's
crazy.
geez, and they're talking about these pickups. We're going to get these pickups. The garbage is piling up within the community. What it comes down to is there's this community really has to get their collection under control because
It's just terrible.
It's-
And one day, I mean, at least make it
Should've
for a
been-
week or something like
Exactly.
that, you know,
Right.
so people
Make it-
can
make it so
get
people-
there and they're not waiting for
I mean, these people are
hours in
legitimately
line.
doing the right thing, taking their television and electronics to get rid of it and to dispose of it correctly.
Or make it mandatory and just have the police go out and collect all the TVs.
Right, or give them a ticket.
Yeah, give them a ticket. Here. I mean, it was a
I don't
good
know
idea.
enough about the environmental impact of all this stuff and how they get handled, but this is utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
We've just lost it. I mean, we spend $80 million a year to that government, and we can't get the garbage picked up right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the bulky waste pickup is just ridiculous. You know.
Anyway, there you go. Good suggestion for you.
Okay.
Say good morning and good luck.
Good morning and good luck.
See you next week.
Thank